I'm going to try and make this as quick as I can. I have a lot of explaining of stuff to do later on the video, so I'll make the first part very quick. Becca, I'm glad you had an amazing time in Chicago. I absolutely loved all your videos of Something Corporate. That looked amazing. And thank you so much for getting that guy, or the two guys in the van, to say hi to us. I'm not quite sure what their name was, I didn't quite catch it. But the second guy looks really like Danny Jones from McFly. If you've ever heard of the band McFly, if you haven't, Google them, they're awesome. So yeah, you looked really like him. I thought that was quite strange, but it was really awesome, thank you so much. Rosa, have an amazing time in Israel. Don't be too scared about it. I know that it's going to be quite scary going into a totally foreign country with a whole different language, but see it as an amazing experience. You will get to know everything after like a week. You'll be fine. And your travel blog, I am really looking forward to following it throughout the summer. Yeah, it should be really good. So nerves are a good thing, but don't be too scared, just enjoy it. I know you will when it comes around to it. It's just the kind of whole waiting game just now. But yeah, so that's about it for replying to you guys. This part, I am so sorry, this is going to get very confusing, but Rosa, you asked, or you said that you didn't quite understand the British education or political systems, so this is my attempt to explain that in the most confusing way possible, apparently, because I've tried this 2 times before, and it's totally failed. So I will start off with the education system, as simply as I can. The education system in Scotland is very different to how it is in America, but it's also very different to how it is in England. So, and I don't even know how it works in England, so I will just focus on the Scottish education system just now. The first kind of school that you go to is a primary school when you're about 5 till you're about 12, and there's 7 years of that, like it's called primary 1, primary 2, primary 3, etc. And in primary 7 you go on to high school. There's 6 years of that. So in first and second year, you just kind of get a broad range of subjects, and then in third year, you get to choose about 8 subjects to follow on for your third and fourth year, and at the end of fourth year, you sit what are called your standard grade exams. Those are the very first big exams that you get, and English, maths, and 1 modern foreign language are compulsory, so I did German as mine. And so yeah, that's 8 subjects standard grade, and then in 5th year you choose about 5 subjects, and they recommend English and maths, but they're not compulsory. And I didn't choose maths, I chose to do English though. And so you get to sit 5 hires is the kind of aim that everyone goes for, and then in 6th year you get to choose about 2 advanced hires, maybe a couple of other hires, and those are the qualifications you need to get into university. So those are kind of the simplest ways that I can describe it. So you get main exams at the end of your 4th year, your 5th year, and your 6th year, which are great fun. Not. So that is the education system, as simply as I can put it. The political system I will go on to just now. The main one that you will know of is the main UK election which has just been. So that is called the general election, and I will sort of try to explain that just now. There are 646 areas, they've been split up from the UK, which is England, Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland. So 646 areas, which are called constituencies, and each of them elects 1 person to be their representative in the main UK government, which is located in London. And so the general election there was everyone electing their MP, Member of Parliament, and the party with the most MPs usually becomes the leaders of the government, and their party leader becomes the Prime Minister. But this year it wasn't so simple. So there are 3 main parties in the UK. There's the Labour Party, the Conservative Party and the Liberal Democrats. But the Labour and the Conservatives are the 2 kind of main ones there, if you see it like the Democrats and the Republicans. But there is the Liberal Democrats that have a presence but are not as important, but they have proved to be very important in this election. So the Conservatives were in rule up during the 80s up until 1997, when, if you've seen Billy Elliot, by the way, all the stuff that happened in there is due to the Conservatives. They were basically known for screwing up the nation. But in 1997 Labour were brought into government, and they won up until this year. So there's been a whole lot of different things to do with like the economy and everything, so people weren't quite sure who they were going to vote for. And I know that in America you guys have the presidential debates. Well, we actually had leaders' debates for the first time. So the three leaders of the main parties came up head to head. So there was Gordon Brown, who is the Labour leader, or was the Labour leader, and he was the Prime Minister up until like just there. Then there was David Cameron, who is the leader of the Conservatives, and Nick Clegg, who is the leader of the Liberal Democrats. So there was three leaders' debates in the 3 weeks before the election. Those proved really popular, and Nick Clegg, leader of the Liberal Democrats, gained a lot of popularity, which he hadn't experienced before because it was seen as like the two main parties and then them, but they really kind of gained popularity through that. About 51% of people said that they would vote for Liberal Democrats after the first leaders' debate, which was a really big achievement for them. So people weren't quite sure where they were going with that, since there was a load of change and shift in who people were voting for. So when it came around to the election, although a lot of people said they were voting for Liberal Democrat and a lot of people thought they would actually win an overall majority, no one at all won a majority. So that made things a lot more confusing, because although the Conservatives won the most seats, they themselves didn't have enough people to outnumber everyone else, so that would make their policies really difficult to pass if they had more people who could vote against it than would vote for it. So Labour decided that they would hold talks with the Liberal Democrats to form what is called a coalition, which is the two parties coming together, compromising, discussing and agreeing to run the country together. But that kind of fell apart. So the Conservatives decided to have talks with the Liberal Democrats, and they did come to an agreement. So they have formed a coalition, and since Gordon Brown obviously had no more power, that he couldn't, no matter how he chose to run the country, he would still have way more people outnumbered voting against his policies than would vote for it. He had to step down as Prime Minister. David Cameron became Prime Minister, and this is kind of where we are at just now. What else have I got to say? I've got my wee notes here. So yeah, that was kind of not expected, the Conservatives and the Liberal Democrats, because the Liberal Democrats are kind of, they're like obviously liberal, so they were for like things that the Conservatives were against, whereas the Conservatives were more right wing. So that was quite strange that they came together and compromised, so we will see how this coalition goes. I don't think it will be very effective, but yes, this is kind of what's going on just now. They finally have enough so that is about it for the UK political and education systems. I hope you've been able to keep up. I am sure it's very confusing for you, but no need to return the favour, because one of the subjects I'm studying for my hires, if you've been keeping up, is modern studies, which is all about politics, international affairs, things like that, and we have done a whole unit on America, so I am very up to date with, with your political systems. So yes, I'm very interested in politics, as you can tell, and if you're interested in learning about the Chinese political system, I am also caught up on that, if you're interested at all. But I think you've had your fill with this one, so I will leave it at this. This must be very long. I hope you have enjoyed this little politics lesson. So yeah, that's about all I have to say. I hope you guys have an amazing week, and I will see you next week. Bye!